My brother burned through his inheritance within a year, and now my parents are asking me to rescue him. When I refused, he tried to ruin my career with false reports. So I took them all to court. I am 32 years old male. For most of my life, I felt like a footnote in someone else's legacy, a supporting role in a family drama that revolved solely around my older brother Noah. From the time he was born, it seemed as if the universe had given him a crown and assigned me the responsibility of wearing his cape. He was the golden boy, the firstborn son, whom my parents believed deserved the finest of everything, and they made certain he received it. I used to believe it was due to our parents' upbringing or cultural background. "Your brother's the eldest," my mother would add, as if it were some mystical incantation that justified any harm. My father once told me bluntly, "You'll understand when you have kids. The first one is special." I didn't comprehend. I still don't. But I learned not to ask questions. Instead, I learned to shrink, to be silent, to accept hand-me-downs, forgotten birthdays, and second-best hugs. When my grandparents died, I had a faint hope that things would change, that I would be recognized as more than a shadow in their will. But the pattern persisted. Noah received the house, the one our grandmother used to rock us to sleep, incomplete with the rose shrub she planted when we were toddlers. He received the savings account, which grandfather liked to joke was for the boys' futures. He also received Grandma's jewelry box, which she had stated she wanted me to have because I was careful with emotional items, but those were only words. Apparently, my name did not appear in the will, not even for the ancient cuckoo clock in the hallway where I used to whine for Grandma on Saturdays. The part that wounded me the most was how nonchalant everyone seemed about it. My parents stopped trying to hide their preference. "Your brother has responsibilities," my mother added, as if managing money he didn't earn and a house he didn't tidy made him a martyr. "He's the one who will carry on the family name," my father stated one Thanksgiving, as Noah sipped on his fourth whiskey sour. It was as if they were attempting to establish a dynasty with me, serving as a backup in the event that the golden kid was injured. So I left quietly. No fight, no spectacular exit. I grabbed a tech support job in another location and worked my way up. Lived small and kept everything. Nobody noticed, nobody called. At Christmas, I received typical group texts from the family chat room. My mom gave me a thumbs-up emoticon for my birthdays. She once sent it a day late, which was great. I wasn't bitter, at least not first. I just calibrated, learned to live quietly. In the meantime, Noah was having a great time. I'd get glimpses of his life on social media when my curiosity got the best of me. Photos of him at rooftop bars, lying next to pools in Vegas, and smiling with girlfriends whose names changed every several months. He even attempted to establish a podcast about cryptocurrency entrepreneurship for a short period of time. It lasted for 4 episodes. He videotaped them in Grandma's living room, surrounded by family heirlooms he had no idea about. I watched 15 minutes of one before closing the page. I recall thinking, this house is going to rot underneath him. It wasn't long until the calls began. Mom was the first to speak, her voice upbeat and easygoing. "Hey, sweetheart, just wondering if you thought about coming home for Easter. Noah would love to see you. Noah is struggling, and we need someone responsible around." I did not respond. Then Dad took the guilt away. "Family is all we have in this world, son. Don't let grudges ruin that." I wanted to say you wrecked it, but instead I let the stillness extend. Then came the group call. Noah appeared on the screen looking exhausted and attempting to grin. "Bro," he replied. "I miss you, man." He let out a feeble little laugh. "You still got that apartment in the city? I might be around next week just to catch up." He didn't add that he had sold the house 2 months before to pay off business debts, or that the female he was dating had emptied his account on her way out. But I knew my cousin Ava told me everything in a late-night direct message. "Don't say I told you," she replied. "But your brother's living out of a hotel and asking around for loans." Still, I did not say anything. I let silence speak for me. It sounded louder than any insult. 3 weeks later, I unlocked my apartment door in the evening to discover him waiting there. He resembled a ghost, with thin features, red-rimmed eyes, and crumpled clothes that appeared to have been worn overnight. The Noah I grew up with, the one who used to call me kiddo, while flicking the back of my ear, was no longer there. This variant appeared hollow. He didn't even attempt to simulate charm. "I didn't know where else to go," he explained. His voice broke midway through the phrase. "I'm in trouble, Danny." That was the first time Dad had addressed me by my name in years. Not bro dude or kiddo, just Isaac. I stopped in the doorway, frozen. A small part of me, the younger version of myself, was still waiting for Big Brother to behave decently. I wanted to step aside and say, "Come in." That meant giving him a blanket, a hot supper, and a bit of the protection I'd carved out for myself. But then I remembered sitting on the steps during my grandmother's burial, listening to him joke with his buddies about flipping the house for a profit. I remember seeing my father offer Noah a check from my college fund, which they said had vanished during the recession, so Noah could start something big. "I just need a little help," Noah remarked, massaging his eyes. "A place to crash alone, maybe. I swear I'll pay you back. I've got a plan." That statement struck me like a punch. I have a plan. He always had a plan. It always ended with someone else cleaning up the messes. My hand clenched on the doorframe. I examined his face. The same look that laughed at every insult my parents tolerated. The same face that received my future as a party goodie. I did not yell. I didn't even raise my voice. "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what you left me with." His eyes fluttered. Confusion followed by realization, and then something else. Maybe it's shame or just discomfort. I couldn't wait to find out. I stepped back and shut the door. And through the peephole, I saw him remain there for a moment, then turn and shuffle back toward a waiting Uber without luggage hope or a return ticket. But what occurred next? That's when everything began to collapse, because closing the door was only the start. The fallout was still coming. The next morning, I received an SMS from my mother, only one line. "Lee, I heard what happened last night. Call me." No. "How are you?" No pleasantries. Just that ambiguous, heavy sentence carrying the weight of 1,000 hidden expectations. I stared at it for a while, sipping lukewarm coffee and wondering how fast Noah had crawled back. I didn't respond. 2 hours later, my phone lit up with her name. I let it ring. Then again. I turned off the ringer. Then came the voicemail. "Isaac, it's your mother. I don't know what's gotten into you, but Noah is your brother. Family helps each other, especially when one of us is down." I expect a call back. The irony almost had me laughing. Families benefit one another. Since when I spent the day in silence, focusing on work and keeping my phone on silent. That evening, I checked my email and found a message headlined "Family Meeting Sunday at 3 p.m. It was transmitted by my father to a chain that included me, Noah, and my parents. I nearly didn't open it, but curiosity got the best of me. It was brief, formal, and written like a memo from someone who had forgotten how to be a father and instead structured each sentence like a business agreement. "We're going to settle this like adults. This family cannot survive with division and cold shoulders. Your brother needs support. We're hoping you'll be reasonable." Reasonable. I gazed at the word until it blurred. They portrayed it as reasonable to give Noah the house, while I lived on a mattress in a shared college dorm and worked evenings to pay rent. Reasonable is how they justified squandering the family savings to cover his failing app idea, while informing me they couldn't afford to pay me a single visit after I moved. Noah stole Grandma's ring, the one she told me to retain for someone special someday, and gave it to a lady he had just dated 3 months before. And now they expected me to be sensible. However, a part of me hesitated. I was not heartless. I didn't want to retain a grudge indefinitely. Perhaps a part of me still wanted them to recognize their mistake, to repent even once for making me the family afterthought. So I went. Sunday arrived and I drove 2 hours back to my hometown. The house appeared exactly the same. Nothing had changed. Not the crumbling stone mailbox, nor the faded swing set in the backyard that hadn't moved since we were youngsters. The wind chimes I used to hear from my bedroom continued to jingle in the breeze. But the air felt different. When I entered, my mother greeted me with a tight smile. My father was already seated at the dining table, not in his normal chair, indicating that this was official. Noah sat across from him, crouched with a hoodie pulled over his head like a shell. His eyes were sunken deeper than usual. He did not look up. "Thanks for coming," my father remarked, motioning for me to sit. My mother brought out iced tea as if it were just another summer afternoon. "Quit the small talk," I stated simply. "You asked me here to talk, so talk." My father cleared his throat before folding his hands. Noah made mistakes. He admits that. But you slamming the door in his face, that's not how we solve things. That's not who we are. I raised an eyebrow. We, you mean the same we that gave him everything and left me nothing that week? My mother's smile froze. My father flinched, but pressed on. He was the eldest Isaac. He had more on his shoulders. We did what we thought was right. And now, I inquired, leaning forward, you think I should clean up the mess you enable, Silence? My mother sat down inside. He has nothing left. Not even a car. He's been sleeping on couches, Isaac. He had a house. He sold it. He had savings. He burned through it. He had jewelry, property, family money, and blew it all on parties, girls, and bad crypto tips. Don't tell me he has nothing. He chose nothing. Noah eventually looked up. His voice was thin. I messed up. Okay, I know I don't deserve it, but I just need a place to stay, a job, lead something. I stared at him, at the desperate tone in his voice. The Noah I grew up with would never have begged. He would have made a joke, shrugged it off, and dubbed me a loser if I hadn't assisted. But this Noah was empty. I got where I am by myself, I explained. No trust fund, no family support. I worked while studying, I lived in a shoebox. I fixed people's printers and answered angry customers for years while you flew first class to Ibiza. I know Noah said, I know I don't deserve it, Dan. He trailed off and my father continued where he left off. We're asking you, son, as a family. Can't you lend him a hand? I glanced at all three of them, and it struck me. They weren't asking for assistance. They demanded sacrifice again, just as always, wrapped in remorse, iced tea, and familial values. I stood up. I don't owe you anything, I said. Not after the years you pretended I didn't exist. You gave him everything. Now you can live with the results. I turned to Noah. You burned your inheritance on fun. I built my peace with nothing, and I'm not going to ruin it for nostalgia. My mother's eyes watered. My father seemed to want to talk but couldn't find the words, and Noah only nodded as if he'd finally understood. I left the house without saying anything else. There were no slamming doors or yelling, only the silent sound of sneakers on hardwood and three people paralyzed in the disaster they had produced. But it was not the end, because I didn't realize Noah wasn't done trying, and his next move was going to take this whole family drama to a place neither of us were prepared for. A week went by. I assumed that was the end of it. No more calls or voicemails. The silence felt almost like a reward, as if my absence had finally been acknowledged. I concentrated on work, cleaning my flat, and remembering the simple rituals that had kept me sane as a child. I did not check the family group chat. I didn't go through Noah's social media. I didn't care what happened next until I received a call from HR at my workplace. Isaac, my boss, continued appearing embarrassed and faintly regretful. We just had a strange message come through our general inbox. Someone sent an anonymous tip alleging you falsified your qualifications when you were hired, that your degree was fake. My stomach sank. What, I inquired, my tone rougher than me. That's not true, I figured he replied. Your credentials are all in order. We already verified them when you started. But the email came with a long message and some personal details. Your home address, your mother's maiden name, even the last 4 digits of your old bank account. It did not take long to put it together. Only 3 people in the world had access to that particular set of information, and 2 of them were seated at that dining table last Sunday. It was Noah. He'd devolved into something petty and nasty, like a drowning man attempting to drag someone else under in order to breathe for another second. When polite requests failed, he resorted to sabotage. I sat at my desk, pulse hammering and hands numb. The transgression, the sheer arrogance made my skin crawl. He hadn't simply disrespected my boundaries. He'd used my family past to try to destroy the life I'd established. I opened up my email. Sure enough, there it was, an anonymous Gmail address with a confused subject line. I opened it and clenched my jaw as I read the message. This man has a history of lying. He manipulated his family into giving him money and then cut them off when they needed help. Ask him why he changed his last name when he moved. Ask him why no one in his family speaks to him anymore. There were attachments. I have old images from my college years. One image depicted me sitting at a desk with a stack of outstanding invoices. Another was a fuzzy scan of a half transcript from a community college that I never completed before transferring. None of them proved anything, but they all painted a picture one intended to create just enough doubt, and it was concluded with a single sentence. You don't know who you hired. I wasn't even aware I was shaking until I dropped my mouse. I called my manager back right away. He told me that the email had already been noticed and rejected and that the company did not tolerate anonymous slander without evidence. But he stated something else. You might want to handle whatever's going on at home, he suggested gently, because whoever sent that, they're not done. I ended the conversation and sat there staring out the window. The city skyline felt remote as if it belonged to a world I no longer knew. My sanctuary, my apartment felt smaller now. I had a fleeting thought that I should have blocked his number the moment he came up at my door. Instead, I let guilt overcome me. I attended that meeting as if it were a negotiation. I gave him an opportunity to be human. And now he was attempting to destroy everything I'd accomplished simply because I said no. I took out my old external hard disk, which I hadn't touched in years. It was full of backups including images, receipts, and emails. I began digging not because I was terrified, but because I was done with defense. See, the problem with being neglected your entire life is that you become adept at observing, at remembering by filing away items that others believe you will forget. And Noah had made a lot of blunders, not only with money. I'd helped him compose some emails back in the day, one to a girl's enraged father after she accused Noah of pressing her for cash, another to a questionable cryptocurrency site where he boasted about using family riches to support high-risk bets. There were chat logs, screenshots, even a folder named Marketing LLC, a fictitious company he established to qualify for a business loan with a doctored bank statement I discovered on a flash drive years before. I hadn't saved these items for vengeance. I had just never thrown them away. But suddenly I had everything I needed. But I wasn't about to play his game. I was not going to send anonymous tips. I wasn't going to respond with petty sabotage. No. I was going to show him what it was like when the person you dismissed became the one thing you couldn't ignore. I created a professional clear letter. Every accusation was supported by proof. Every paragraph included in an official document. Then I emailed it not to my company but to the bank Noah had duped with his loan swindle, the one I recognized from the previous statements on that journey. I did not transmit it anonymously. I signed it with my entire name because if Noah wanted a fight, I was finished cowering in the shadows. I hadn't heard anything for about a month. On a wet Tuesday morning, I received a call from a number I did not recognize. It was a woman from Harborview Bank's fraud division. Hi, is this Isaac Reyes? Yes. I just wanted to confirm. You're the one who submitted the packet regarding Noah Reyes and the 2021 loan under Marketing LLC. I felt my spine straightening. Yes, that was me. There was a pause, the type with weight. Thank you. The documentation was very thorough. We've been sitting on a soft flag for that account for almost a year. We couldn't prove anything until now. She did not say much else. Couldn't legally, but I could tell from the tone in her speech that things were already in motion. I hung up and gazed at my phone for an entire minute. I hadn't felt so quiet within years. Not numb, but serene. I felt as if I had finally emerged from a storm that everyone else had mistaken for sunshine. 3 days later, I received a text from my cousin Ava, just a screenshot. The photo showed Noah being led out of what seemed to be a hotel lobby by 2 plainclothes officers. Below it was a message. So he's being investigated. Bank fraud, identity misrepresentation, loan default. Your dad is livid. I stared at it for a long time, barely understanding what I was witnessing. The man who used to mock the system while drinking drinks had now lost the game. But what struck me the most was that I did not feel triumphant. I felt neither joy nor smugness. I felt finished. A few days after the arrest, my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. This time, her voice was weak, lacking polish and composure. Isaac, I don't know what's happening. Your father's pacing the house like a madman. They're saying Noah might have used forged documents. The bank's been calling. We didn't know. We didn't know he was doing that. Another pause. I know you're angry. I know we've hurt you, but please, please don't destroy him. He's still your brother. It would have been so simple to call her back to shout about the years of favoritism, missed birthdays, and inheritance siphoned into Noah's coffers to inquire as to where this concern was when I was being disregarded when I was surviving on bargain cereal and doing night shifts while Noah had vacations and bailouts. But I did not. because it wasn't important anymore. I blocked her phone number, and then I blocked my father. Then I left the family group chat totally. I destroyed the old email threads, images, and text archives that I had saved as mementos of a life I thought I was meant to want. When the story hit the local press, it spread like wildfire in our town. A local man has been charged with fraud in the $130,000 small business loan scheme. The report contained a number of aliases: Marketing LLC, Sunvest Solutions, and even Reyes Holdings, which made me laugh out loud, as if he was attempting to construct a phony empire behind a borrowed name. There were quotes from persons he had defrauded: a gym owner who never received payment, a college student who worked for him for a commission that never materialized. A female claimed she lent him $3,000 for a business trip that he never took. One of them mentioned he talked like he had it all figured out, like he was doing me a favor. I should have known it was all smoke. The fallout was terrible. The bank froze his account. His cryptocurrency investments had plummeted months ago. His car, which was leased rather than owned, was repossessed. His last known address was a month-to-month sublet that he had not paid for in 6 weeks. What about his friends? Gone. All of them. Those that partied with him in Vegas. Those that shared filtered group photos with number grindset and number hustle hashtags. None of them paid a visit. When the mugshot was released, none of them responded on his social media accounts. Ava informed me that my parents attempted to take out a second mortgage to pay a defense attorney. It was denied because they had already used the property as collateral for Noah's previous business failure, which he dubbed a game changer. They no longer owned the deed. Ava provided one final update before I urged her not to bring it up again. They're selling the jewelry, she explained. Grandma's necklace, the ring, even her brooch. I sat on it for a while, not because I wanted the jewelry, not because I sought vengeance, but in that instant I realized something. My parents had spent 3 decades giving everything to one son and watching him burn it to ashes. And they spent the same decades disregarding the other, the quiet one, the consistent one, as if he were an afterthought. And suddenly the precious kid had become dust, and the shadow had established a life. 3 months went by, then 4. Then I received a letter in the mail, handwritten. There was no return address, but the penmanship looked familiar. It was from Noah. The letter was short, sloppy, and barely a page long. He wrote, "I know what you did, and I don't blame you. I hate what I've become. I'm scared. I don't expect forgiveness, but if you ever feel like talking, I'll be here. I've got nowhere else to go." I folded the letter, returned it to the envelope, and slipped it into a drawer I hadn't opened in years, the one where I kept old keys, fading receipts, and items I never tossed away. Then I shut the drawer, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was carrying someone else's weight. I did not respond to Noah. I did not write back. I did not tell anyone. I simply stood up, strolled to my kitchen, poured myself a drink, and gazed out at a skyline I created entirely on my own. There is no inheritance, no help. It's just grit and memories and the gradual hard process of prioritizing peace over family. And you know what? That was enough.